Excellent. Nothing like a timer and a countdown to start off things. We're excited to have everyone here. Let me just get my desktop together real quick. And we are going to kick this webinar off. Perfect. Welcome to our live webinar on conversion rate optimization, proudly presented by Bellavix and Amazon's Buy with Prime. Today, we'll explore actionable strategies to enhance your e-commerce website's performance, specifically around conversion rate optimization. I have John Kiefler, David Abraham, and Martina Prencipe with us today. With that being said, I'm going to kick it off with John to do a brief introduction.
All right, thanks, Will. Good to be here today. So my name's John Kiefler. I am the Director of Web Strategy and a partner at Limelight Marketing. We are a e-commerce focused D2C agency. We work anywhere from building websites to strategy for e-commerce brands and everything in between. And personally, I have been working in this space for about 12 years. And I've also worked across public, private sector, and excited to be here today and share some thoughts about CRO.
Beautiful. We're excited to have you here. It sounds like you have lots of experience. David.
Hey, Will, thanks for having me. Nice to be here with everybody. My name is David Abraham. I'm the CEO and founder of Bluesoft Design. We're an e-commerce digital marketing agency based out of New Jersey, primarily specializing in Shopify and Google. I like to consider us kind of like your all-in-one toolkit for building, scaling, and growing your e-commerce store. We've been in the space for the last 8 years. We're certified Shopify experts and Google partners. We've worked with over 30 different industries, over 100 different websites, and happy to share some of my CRO tips here today.
Super excited. And lots of experience. You can see the theme here. Martina.
Yeah, hi Will. Hi everyone. My name is Martina. I'm a senior partner manager here in the Buy with Prime team at Amazon. I've been with Amazon for almost 7 years in July. And I've changed different roles, different teams and countries. I started out in the retail space at Amazon Italy as a marketing manager, helping vendors with their marketing strategy on Amazon Italy and Spain. And then I moved into the sales team with Amazon Pay team, covering Europe and learning a lot about the payment industry. And I moved to New York 2 years ago, November 2022. And I focus now on the Buy with Prime initiative here in the US. So thanks for hosting me, Will. I'm excited.
Beautiful. We're excited to have you here. Lots of transitions. So welcome to New York and Buy with Prime. So very exciting to have you here, Martina. Awesome. Just a few housekeeping items so everybody's aware. I will be sharing the video recording of this session after it's over, give or take sometime next week. Also, feel free to ask any questions throughout the discussion. You can use the Q&A button inside the chat. Feel free to drop it in there. From our teams, we have Marina, Cici, and Alejandra who will help us answer some of these questions as they come up, and they'll be helping us manage things on the back end. So that being said, let's get started. So with that being said, the theme today is conversion rate optimization. So John, I'm going to kick it off with you. What is conversion rate optimization and why is it critical for e-commerce success?
Yeah, well, it really comes down to user experience. And that's how I got into being passionate about CRO, as I have a background in user experience as well. And so it's about removing friction for users to achieve some type of goal on a site. And, a lot of times that is purchases, especially with us being e-commerce focused, but, it could be other things as well. There's other goals you may want people to achieve. But it is really, really important for e-commerce because it directly impacts revenue for one. It's one of those levers where you can, if you do things right, kind of pull the lever, see the revenue increase, and then, maximizing the value of your existing traffic, which you're paying for a lot already potentially. And so you want to make sure you're getting as much value there as possible. And just overall, it's an ROI multiplier is how I see it. The better we can enhance our e-commerce storefront and our digital shelf, through these efforts, the more we'll see ROI across various marketing efforts. So.
Beautiful. Well said, John. What I love from that, removing friction. I mean, it seems like no matter what you do, whether you're operating on Amazon or directly on websites, the goal is like, how can we make it more efficient to get a conversion rate? And I love ROI multiplier. That's a much better term for improving efficiency. David, how about you? Any thoughts or anything to add to John's comments?
Well, I like how John kind of positioned it that it's a way of removing friction, and it's essentially positioning yourself in the best possible light, whatever your product or service may be, to turn your typical visitor into a customer, whether that's improving the user experience, removing that friction, speaking to your customer better, understanding your audience better. It's the process of just positioning you in the best light to better enhance your conversion rates and your overall experience. And it's crucial to anyone that's serious about their marketing, all their marketing efforts, because it just improves everything all across the board, improves your engagement, conversion rates, your ROI. And in many cases, it could be sometimes a one-time investment that's going to just improve you for the long term, as opposed to, with marketing where you're consistently investing and reinvesting to scale up. CRO is usually one of those one-time investments that can really just pay off for the long run.
I like that. And then improving the user experience, I think is key. And it sounds like conversion rate optimization, it's kind of tied into understanding your customer and their behaviors. And the more you understand that, the better you can kind of manipulate that KPI. So then, David, can you outline some key components of an effective CRO strategy? So I'm in the space, I have my website, I have a poor conversion rate. What should I consider from a strategic perspective as we're trying to figure out where there's opportunity?
Absolutely. Well, first thing is data is your friend. You can't have an effective strategy without having measurables in place and understanding what your goals are out of all of this and what your conversion is, what kind of return you're trying to get, whether that's sales, whether that's newsletter signups, account activations. Understanding what your goals are and who you're going after is very important. And then finding out which pieces of the puzzle speak to achieving that goal. There are tons of different strategies for implementing CRO, improving mobile speed on the site, mobile experience, user experience, improving your navigation, improving your checkout process. There are tons of different things that you can implement. And once you implement those strategies, it's being able to read those results, seeing that you're getting the results that you want, being able to read that analytical data, see how things improve. And also A/B testing is very important, and making sure that you're, guessing and checking and always trying to improve and become better and always try to refine the process. But, that would essentially be a basic outline as far as how to approach it.
Beautiful. You covered a lot, David. Data is your friend. I love that. And what I take too, so understanding your goals and more importantly, what inputs will change which outputs. And it sounds like what I love is that understanding results, but also testing is a big part of this. And like anything else, coming up with a hypothesis and then testing that out using market data is the best way. And John, I see your head nodding. Can you add anything to David's strategies or how you guys think of outlining your CRO strategies when you're starting to work with a new client?
Yeah, I think David really nailed it. And we like to create that, testing plan a little ways out ahead, but we like to be flexible with it, right? So we have these ideas that we think are going to work and that we want to prioritize for A/B testing, but, maybe we have an insight that comes up, or a thing that needs to get ahead of the line. And so we try to be flexible with that. So I think that's key. And then, there are just so many tactics, that you can employ here too. Your value props really need to be front and center, right? And making sure that those are in the right spots on your product pages and things like that. I think we're probably all tired of hearing about it, but I think there's probably a place for AI in this too, right? And that accelerating your ability to come up with hypotheses and brainstorm a little bit, right? So couple of additional thoughts there. Yeah.
Beautiful. And I think some of this is well said. The value props is obviously really important, like what differentiates you from your competitors, and having that be part of your testing and your strategy. And something I think of, you're right. I think everybody at this point is like, I can't stand hearing AI. Well, I love how you kind of framed how you guys use AI, or how you think of AI as a conversion rate optimization. It helps accelerate the hypotheses process and brainstorming. So it's used as a tool to guide you, as opposed to just spitting out all the answers. So that is really informative. And on that note, John, how does website design impact conversion rates, and what are some common pitfalls to avoid?
Well, hugely. I mean, it's kind of the end all be all with conversion rate. A poorly designed website is not going to convert well. That's the bottom line. And so, there's a few things to look out for if you have cluttered layouts and too much information. If copy is not easily scannable, that's a big one. If your navigation is poor, that's also a big problem potentially. From time to time, we'll propose to clients, hey, we really need to redesign your nav. And the ask is always, well, what's this going to do for us? The current nav is okay. And I'll always say, well, we need to measure your conversion rate after you do this, because we should see that lift. So yeah, navigation, I think David mentioned it, but if the site speed is poor, that's a big one, right? And if you've got poor practices in terms of like image compression and certain design practices, that can be an issue. And then, of course, if your designs aren't responsive for mobile, that's going to be a big problem. And one of the things that we'll do is we do a lot of cross-browser and cross-device user testing as part of our CRO strategies to try and uncover those things and make some micro optimizations for like devices that are used by a lot of people, especially when a brand new version of like iOS or Android comes out. We're going to jump on and make sure that nothing got hurt in the user experience because of a browser compatibility issue or anything like that.
That is a lot of considerations. And I had no idea, like, for example, navigation could be something that seems so simple, could actually have an impact on conversion rates, poor site speed. We are in the age of instant gratification. So I can totally understand how, if it's going to take a minute for me to get that content, I might not be on the website by the time it gets here. David, anything to add? What are some design impacts on conversion rate, common pitfalls to avoid?
Well, web design is crucial. So when you're dealing with an online store in the online space, your website is your first impression that you're making to these customers who, for the most part, or mostly dealing with you for the first time. And the first thing they see when they get to your site is all that subliminal messaging. If you have a site that looks deprecated, that looks like it hasn't been updated in years, that speaks to the trust level. These people are interacting with you for the first time, trusting you with their money, trusting that they're going to get their products. They need to trust you. And having a site that's modern, up to date, speaks to a customer and says, this business owner, this business cares about their business, I can feel a little bit more secure when dealing with this business. And outside of the subliminal, it's just I keep coming back to user experience, but I forgot the specific numbers that I read in the past. But with every additional click that it takes for someone to get from landing on your site to getting to their goal, you have a higher chance of losing that customer. So it's making that experience seamless. That's super important. Things that get overlooked, like sidebar filters on stores with a lot of inventory, and being able to filter down and narrow down to what someone's looking for right away. Sometimes it's smart searching and Ajax search, where it's predictive search for when you're searching for products. Website is crucial. Fast experience, easy to navigate, least amount of clicks possible till it takes to get to the goal. All these play a huge part. And even though it's a small piece, they all add up to a bigger picture.
Beautiful. Well said. I mean, it sounds like a fast experience, easy to navigate, and minimize clicks. I mean, those seem like, three separate silos of considerations that need to be considered when you got. It's pretty interesting. So I kind of like to dive a little deeper. If I was redesigning my website, should I only consider the click? Should I just be should my website for, and I'm just using this as an example, an e-commerce website that has a small catalog, should they just have everything on the homepage, or does there need to be a story that's part of it? And I'd love to hear kind of how the branding versus the science, I guess, comes together. And I'll let David or John, whoever wants to pick it up.
You go ahead, David.
Appreciate it, John. So I think it is a case by case basis. It depends on the business, depends on their goals. It's not one size fits all for every business, but branding and personalization is very important. Nowadays more than ever, people want to connect with people. They don't want to connect with nameless faces and soulless corporations. So having a story, having something that really speaks to the people that you're trying to target is very important. It's not always something easy that every business has, and for some it might not make sense, but if you have a brand that's a little bit more personalized, that it has a little bit more life in it, it's great if you can personalize that message. Now, for some businesses, you might need to have a product detail page for each product, because it's important to explain the process behind the product, and maybe how it was made, or the story of how it came to be, or why it's important. You might have another business that has a more simplistic product where you want to eliminate that the amount of clicks it takes to check out, and you might not have a product details page. You might have it all on the homepage. You might have a simple experience. I think it really depends on a case by case basis, and just understanding what it is that your audience wants.
Beautiful. I think that's well said. John, anything to add?
No, I think you really nailed that. And I think the way that I look at it is, yeah, brand should impact shopping experience, right? And that's how it is in real or I say real physical storefronts too, right? If I'm going into like a Dollar General or Dollar Tree or something, that it's not about the brand, it's about the commodity and quickly getting in and out. And we can think of e-commerce sites the same way for certain brands. At the same time, if I'm going into a luxury goods store, my shopping experience, will be much different because that brand is much different. And so I think that can translate directly into our e-commerce sites.
Beautiful. Well said. I think that's a big takeaway. Branding is important, but it's not right for everybody depending on your category, what you're selling. So that's pretty interesting. John, what are the most effective metrics to track when evaluating CRO results?
Well, conversion rate for sure. That's probably going to be at the top of the list. But it's just one of several metrics you can look at. Average order value is another one. If we have a good user experience, we would want to see that go up. And a lot of the times our CRO strategies will include how can we better cross-sell, upsell, grow the average order value, in addition to conversion rate. We might be measuring like a click-through rate to a certain part of the site as well. If we're not just focused on orders or purchases, we might be measuring things like that too. And then you can look at things like bounce rate as well. Ideally, if users are getting where they need to go and they're engaged, they shouldn't be bouncing too quickly. But those are the ones that come to mind for me.
Beautiful. Dave, any other metrics you guys consider that may have been missed?
So I think John highlighted the real important ones. Conversion rate, obviously. Bounce rate is one that we do like to look at, and average session time. If they're staying on the site, they're engaging the site, people are on there longer, means that you're targeting the right audience. And this one has, I would say, maybe a little bit less to do with the on-site conversion optimization, but kind of optimizing your back-end process is lifetime value. If you have people that are selling, subscription products, or, recurring, services or products, lifetime value could be an important one to look at if they're sticking around longer, or, if you're offering a subpar service or a subpar experience on the site. But click-through rate, also very important, making sure that people are clicking through the site, and you're targeting the right audience. But there are a bunch of different metrics, all of them helpful in their own way. So I always advise people to jump into their analytics and study up as much as they can.
I like that. A couple take, but conversion rate, of course, conversion rates is perfect. But average order value to happy customers are going to buy more. That's sounds like education and rates important. Obviously, if you land on a page you're not interested in, you're going to bounce off. Average session time, how engaged shoppers, that's great. And what I like to optimizing back end for lifetime value. You mentioned cross-selling and cross promotions, and we know it's effective on Amazon, so no surprise that is equally as effective on the website, except you guys can track lifetime for more than a year. So 1 point for the Shopify guys. What are some quick wins increasing conversions on an e-commerce site?
John, you want to begin?
Sure. Yeah. Quick ones that come to mind. One is make your checkout process as simple as possible. And so if you don't have things like one-click checkout on in Shopify or the equivalent on some other platforms, you need to turn that on. You'll get a boost. So that's an easy win. Product pages end up being a pretty hefty focus a lot of the time as well. One of the things we look at a lot there is move those add to cart buttons up the page as much as possible, especially on mobile. There's things like exit intent pop-ups that can help as well. Give somebody a deal if it looks like their mouse is moving toward that, X button. And then not as quick, but it's so important. I wanted to call it out. Just continually working on improving site speed is critical as well.
Beautiful. These are some great ones. David, anything to add?
So great points. The one-click checkout is definitely a must, and with Shopify, it's pretty simple. And I know we're going to kind of jump into it a little bit deeper into this webinar, but if you are a Buy with Prime member, that does help boost conversion rates. People see that Amazon branding, they love to see it, something they know that they trust, and it repurposes all of their checkout information from Amazon, so that helps a lot. Cleaning up your navigation is something that's super important, especially with big catalog stores, so incorporating something like a mega menu. There are a lot of Shopify apps that work right out of the box that will help you kind of lay out that navigation. And collection page filters are super important. Being able to filter down by pricing, by style, by color, by sizes. And there are a lot of apps that help automate that too. And one or overlooked that's very important is just customer experience, like having a live chat on the site so that people can interact with customer support. There are, again, a lot of apps that work right out the gate and that connects mobile or desktop so you can communicate with your customers anytime they need. But those are just a couple quick ones.
Beautiful. Are there any must-have Shopify or I guess WordPress apps that you would say any of our listeners should consider if they're trying to get an idea around conversion rate optimization?
I wanted to kind of agree with the chat as being a good avenue. And so I don't necessarily have a direct recommendation for a chat app, but there's a lot of them out there, and a lot of them are platform agnostic. And we had one customer who got a lot of customer support calls. And when they added a chat widget to the site as well, their conversion rate went up that week about 15%. So that was a big win. And so understanding what your customers are doing with their business and like some of those pain points too can be great input to what should we do on this site to remove a customer experience pain point. So kind of went on a tangent there, but that it popped into my head.
It's a great story. And also another consideration. So like improving the customer experience, why that improvement isn't directly tied to like a sales improvement, like we updated this picture so we expect more conversion rates. It's improving the customer experience that led to more conversions because happy customers are gonna shop. So that's really interesting. Beautiful. Awesome. Cool. Well, on that note, I'd love to tie in some search engine optimization to this because I know SEO is kind of a big part. You guys want relevancy. I'd imagine, on these pages. So what are some best practices and consideration around SEO and conversion rates?
Well, with
Want to jump in?
SEO, well, with SEO, I'll say that it's all about having the most helpful content. It's content that speaks to you. Content is king, that they say in the Google world. And more of these Google algorithm updates that are being put out month to month are Google's really trying to get that across. So writing content that's authentic, writing content that addresses problems that your customer base is having, that you can provide solutions on, that you can demonstrate expertise on, that really speaks to them, and then tying that in with your service and your product offering is super important. SEO is really just as strong as ever, and Google is working constantly, pushing out all the garbage and really just keeping in the content that's really valuable. So if you understand your audience, you're putting out content that speaks to your audience, that's the best general SEO principle you can incorporate.
I like that. I hear the theme too, understanding your audience, understanding your shopper. Sounds like you guys do a lot of psychology as part of this data. John,
Oh,
anything
yeah.
to add around SEO? How you guys might look at it a little differently?
Yeah, I definitely agree with what David said, and in addition to that, we like to look at SEO like through the full funnel, and what are our personas searching for, depending on their buying journey at each of kind of top, mid, and bottom funnel, and then we're going to write content that solves their problems at each stage, and that's going to be pretty different content some of the time. It could be more educational blogs at the top of the funnel. It could be optimizing product page content at the bottom of the funnel. And so I think that also makes it easier to target like long tail keywords that are going to be really specific and are going to have higher buying intent. So we try to marry that up as well. And then another thing that I think people don't think about or we take for granted sometimes is schema markup. I think, you've got to have really solid schema markup. You're going to have a better experience on the SERP, and that more rich experience on the search page is going to lead to a higher intent piece of traffic. But B, with what I've been reading about Google's latest updates, and you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt because none of us know for sure, but they are putting a little bit more emphasis, I think, on some of this stuff because the combination of really solid schema markup and high quality content is probably a really good indicator that there's a lot of smart humans behind this site, and it's not just a bunch of AI generated stuff that somebody threw out onto a blog.
Nailed it, John. I love how you mentioned schema markup too. I think Google just put something out a few days ago where they were saying schema markups are now more important than ever. And those websites that are like single pages that the nav will just take you to different sections have become less valuable because of that. So that I'm happy to hear you mention it. It's pretty interesting as Google continues to shake things up. Beautiful. And how does optimizing traffic across multiple channels influence the conversion rates before customers even arrive at the page?
I can start there. Some of it's about consistency. As the more consistent our messaging is, I think the higher people will know what to expect when they land on our site. There's no mismatch in expectations, so that should lead to better outcomes in terms of conversion rates. And also optimize across different channels, I think make sure that we're targeting the right audiences. If we're targeting the right people and we're hitting them in multiple ways, whether it's through organic and email and social, if they're seeing that consistent messaging and they're the right audience across those channels, they're going to be more likely to to say yes, I want to buy this when they land on our site.
Beautiful. And that's I think that's really interesting too. So not only knowing your audience, but the messaging. How do you guys do testing around this? So it's interesting, consistency of messaging, but obviously like everyone's intent's different depending on the platform that they're engaging this content in. Are there best practices or how do you make sure the messaging aligns with the audience?
David, you
Um,
want to take that one?
yeah, sure. I'll take a shot. Um, So a lot of time A/B testing, putting out different styles of, you might experiment with different styles of product pages. You might experiment with similar pages with different wording. I think it's all about just keeping an open mind and not being married to what you think works and just embracing the idea that the internet's always changing. Shopping habits are always changing. The platforms you're working on are always changing, and just trying to put out different things to see what aligns with what your customers want. So if you were doing, let's say, a Google ad campaign, you can test different types of ads. You can test different types of pages that those ads target, measure the results that you get from each, become comfortable with your analytics, learn more about what your numbers say about your targeting and your messaging, and just kind of refine from there. There are also plenty of tools that will give you insights into how people are engaging with a particular page. There are a lot of like heat map tools, things like that, can actually show you how people engage and interact with your site. And if you see that certain things are causing friction or problems, that's a perfect case to start A/B testing a particular page and see if you can implement the solution for that.
That's pretty interesting too. And talk about letting data kind of determine your actions. I love the idea of the heat mapping tool to see where you might be losing customers or if they're even scrolling all the way down the page. So this was really helpful. And to call it out, internet and shopping habits are always changing. I think that's well said, and more importance of understanding your audience and also continuous testing. Really solid. Can you guys elaborate on the importance of data and KPIs and optimizing e-commerce traffic and conversions? Want to take this one first, Dave?
Um, well, yeah, I mean, data is everything. Data is your kind of guiding light that without it, you're just taking shots in the dark and guessing and checking. I mean, data cuts out years of guesswork. So the one thing I tell people is before you start any type of campaign, whether it's a CRO campaign, a marketing campaign, is just make sure that you have the right processes to test your work, the right tools in place to measure your work, and make sure that you understand your numbers. There are tons of resources out there that explain how to, what the different metrics mean, how to understand when they're good and when they're bad, and being able to understand that and work from there. But the KPIs that we mentioned earlier in the webinar are great indicators to show how things are going, and just measure, measure, measure. Data is super important when it comes to anything marketing.
Beautiful. Anything to add to that, John?
I think just making sure that you're looking at things both quantitative and qualitatively is important. I think it's Nielsen Norman Group was the one that put out, you just need 5 user testers, to get some valid results. And so, I think using A/B testing tools and looking at, heat maps and metrics like that, really, really important. And then you want to marry it with the human side of just sit with the user and have them work with your web pages, your website, and see how they feel about it, because that's just as important. So it's not as hard of a KPI, but that human element to me is really important to include.
It sounds like, yeah, an additional elements. I'm really glad you brought that up because the data can say one thing, but obviously getting feedback from your actual customers is probably more valuable. We actually have a question from the audience. I missed this, so apologize, anonymous attendee. But A/B testing is cornerstone of CRO. Can you share some practical examples of A/B tests commonly used to improve conversion rates? John or Dave, whoever feels up to it.
Well, I guess I could take, I'll take this one. So essentially, like let's say with a WordPress site, it's very easy enough to clone a page. So if you have let's say a service page that you wanted to test out the different messaging or maybe test out a different layout, you can set up those pages side by side and measure the results of each individual page and look at the bounce rate for those pages, look at the session duration for those pages, see if you gain more, you know, clicks for the page, more conversions for the page. You can also test that out with your ads, and you can target those ads to two separate pages. Google ad, we focus a lot on Google Ads, which has A/B testing tools where you can set up side-by-side campaigns and see how they measure. If you were in the e-commerce space, you can set up, let's say, you had different types of products. You can set up different product templates for different product pages and assign those to individual products and see how those product detail pages perform, or same thing with category pages and see how those different category page changes perform. But you can set these different assets up side by side and measure them in something like Google Analytics and see what the differences are.
And you're measuring, so you're creating these duplicate pages, and is there a software that kind of subs them in and out as users come to the website, or are you just paying for traffic, driving them to both pages, measuring performance, and then kind of picking a winner?
Well, with something like Google, you'd essentially be paying for both. Like if you have a set budget for the day, if you were running an A/B test, it would split it up amongst the two, measure it out, and then slowly fade out the one that's not performing as well and favor the one that's performing well. With Shopify, it's a little bit less straightforward, but each product in each category can have their own separately assigned themed template assigned to the page. So you can set them up side by side and measure them in analytics. It's a little bit less straightforward, but still a good way to test it side by side.
So there. Very cool. John, how about you? Anything to add to this question? Commonly used tactics to improve conversion rates or practical examples you can share?
Yeah, well, in addition to, setting up pages side by side, which I agree, works really well in WordPress. Some of the A/B testing softwares that we'll use, we'll just inject some JavaScript or, some changes directly into the page so that we can measure those variants side by side as well. So, we like to use VWO, convert.com, and some others for this type of thing. And so that can be nice if you're doing a simple test. This isn't going to work if you need to like split between two very, very different pages. But if you're just changing the position of something or the color of something, that will work really well. The other thing is, since we're talking about Google Ads, you really should marry your paid media and your CRO strategies together, because paid media is a fire hose you can turn on to quickly get a test to statistical significance. So if you have a really hot spot that you want to test quickly and quickly get those results, which is based on the amount of traffic and conversions, you can pull that paid media lever to move that a bit faster if you're willing to increase the spend there or redirect the spend there a little bit. So I think it's important, the tools you use and the types of tests, and then also making sure you're marrying it with your other channel strategies.
Beautiful. Well said. And hopefully that answers your question. Thanks for the audience question. And on that note, I think it ties perfectly to promotions and promoting products. What are methods you recommend for effectively promoting products to optimize conversions? And I know we lightly touched on it, but feel free to dive in a little deeper.
Well, for product promotion, like we touched on, I mean, Google Ads are a great way to get that out pretty quickly on the e-commerce side and the Shopify side, specifically with Google Shopping, which is our preferred method with Google Ads, just because it's so tied to the e-commerce space. And, it's great because it can be pretty, lower maintenance compared to the other types of Google Ads that you can put out there. And Google Shopping essentially just takes your product listings on your site and they become your ads themselves. So they're a lot more visual, and geared towards that e-commerce experience. And essentially your titles and your descriptions become your target keywords. So making sure that you have very good optimized product titles and product descriptions are very important. There are also different tools on the Shopify side that you can include to have, separate titles for your Google Shop. If you want to have specifically optimized titles for Google Shopping, but don't want them to interfere with your on-site titles, because maybe on-site you want them to be a little bit more clear, concise, and a little bit shorter and better visuals. There are different tools that you can incorporate for that also. but I think Google Ads is a great, easy, well, I wouldn't say easy, but one of the faster methods of starting to build traffic on the site and promote the products while you're simultaneously hopefully working on the organic side as well.
Beautiful. How about you, John?
Definitely would echo that. Google Ads traffic is usually, or shopping traffic is usually very high purchase intent. So we love to start there. I think it's really critical when you do that you make sure your merchant center is really healthy and connected to your store in a way that is not going to ever cause any problems with those ads. So just a caveat there. I think, like limited time offers, sales specials, creating a sense of urgency, tying things to holidays and stuff is another way. We'll typically see higher traffic, higher conversion rates when we, do some of those types of things as well. So definitely any way we can create urgency with something time sensitive. People don't want to miss out. There's some psychology there. And so we like to do that as well.
Beautiful. Sounds like Google Shopping, and it makes sense too. Like similar to Amazon, the intent's there. If you're on Google Shopping, you're looking to buy products, which is pretty interesting. And I love the promotion, the FOMO, creating that atmosphere to kind of entice customers to make that purchase. So these are some solid promoting product recommendations. So that's a great approach to improving conversion rates. Speaking of optimizing online shopping experience, let's shift our focus to a feature that significantly enhances customer trust and convenience. And I like to chat a little bit about Buy with Prime. So Martina, what is Buy with Prime and how does it work?
Yeah, so first of all, I love the takeaways from John and David. So data is key, working backwards from clients and listening to the voice of the merchants and shoppers. I mean, has always been part of the Amazon culture. And shopper expectations have shifted during the year. They want better value, outstanding customer experience, convenience, and since shoppers want more, I mean, brand owners, I mean, they need to do more, of course. And Buy with Prime essentially give Prime members the option to use the same shopping benefits of Amazon directly on the DTC website of Amazon. And when I say shopping benefits, I mean fast, free delivery, seamless checkout, so very familiar checkout for an Amazon shopper, and free returns. And let me get to why Buy with Prime. So as you know, Amazon has more than 200 million Prime members, and Prime members are engaged shoppers. On the other side, we're more than 200 fulfillment centers, and they can offer fast shipping as fast as 1 day with 97% on delivery, on-time delivery rate, delivering 7 days per week. And last but not least, Amazon has been I would say an e-commerce innovator since 1994 and has built this shopping experience. Having said that, Buy with Prime is focused on helping brands leverage these capabilities to build their own off Amazon channel and meet the customer whenever they are, if they buy on Amazon or if they buy on their own channel.
That's amazing. And just to be able to, Amazon has built FBA. Matter of fact, Amazon throughout the years has shifted customer expectations around how quick packages should get to their house and what that experience should look like. So it's no wonder that there's the Buy with Prime feature, which is giving e-commerce brands the opportunity to enhance their website with this feature. So on that note, what are the main advantages of incorporating Buy with Prime on e-commerce sites from a conversion rate perspective?
Yeah, so let's say a merchant has signed up for Buy with Prime, so they can pick the products where they want to offer Buy with Prime. And as a side note, they don't need to sell on Amazon those products to enable this Prime experience. So let's say I'm a shopper, I navigate into the websites and I see the product detail page with the different checkout options. I see the default checkout option, but also the Buy with Prime option. And Buy with Prime is essentially the button with the Prime logo, the smile, and the delivery promise, which is the most important one, because I immediately get the idea that if I use Buy with Prime, I can get the product as soon as possible. And as soon as the shopper decides to purchase with Buy with Prime, the checkout is pretty smooth and straightforward. They can use their Amazon accounts with their information already stored, and in a few seconds they land on the recap page, on the summary page. And as soon as the order is placed, Amazon goes next. So we pick the product, we pack the product, and we deliver the product to the customer. So we have run a couple of studies among Buy with Prime existing merchants, and we have observed on average an increase of 25% in conversion rate. And the percentage goes up if the merchant enables one of the coolest feature, I guess, called reviews from Amazon. So the conversion rate goes up to 38%. Reviews from Amazon is a feature that allows merchants to take their Amazon reviews from Amazon to their DTC website. And we all know that reviews are key, like data. Reviews help the merchant to enhance the brand credibility. They keep the shopper engaged, and they help to validate the purchasing decision when I'm looking at the product. So it's important to have reviews, and reviews from Amazon are complementary with the default review of the website. So specifically, if you're building your brand and you don't have a lot of reviews, but you're selling on Amazon, it's just an amazing feature that merchants love as of today. Maybe let me call out another important data that we have observed. 3 out of 4 Buy with Prime order come from net new customer for the brand. So we can see Buy with Prime as a conversion tool, but also as a new channel for customer acquisition.
Beautiful. When a customer checks out, they go through the order. This is what we get all the time, so I figure I'll ask it. Does the website owner get that customer information so that they can do retention marketing and everything else?
Yeah, that's the beauty of Buy with Prime. So Buy with Prime merchants can get all the information on the order. And yeah, they can, for the first time, remarket to Prime members that usually, historically, when you place an order on Amazon, Amazon doesn't give away that data. But for Buy with Prime merchants, so they have the option finally to get this data. And as I said, Prime members are engaged shopper. They are high value customer, and as we have seen among other Buy with Prime merchants, this is one of the marketing campaign that they are starting to create with this ad hoc audience.
Very cool. And on that note too, so how does it integrate with my e-commerce website? Like, what does the setup experience look like?
If you're on Shopify, we do have our Buy with Prime app, the official Shopify app. If you're on Salesforce Commerce Cloud, we just released our cartridge. If you are on any other e-commerce provider, you can use our hosted widgets, which is a sort of embeddable snippet code, very easy to install. And so we have a full sales team here, an onboarding team. So usually we sit down with the merchant and we evaluate the case by case.
Nice, very personalized service. And we do have a question from the audience. How does Buy with Prime? Oh, that question went away. Hang on one second.
Oh, I think Alejandra already answered here. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to give the benefit of all our other listeners, if you don't mind. So how does Buy with Prime impact inventory management? Do I need to maintain separate stock levels for Buy with Prime products? Or will Amazon handle fulfillment from existing inventory?
Yeah, that's a great question. So Buy with Prime enables merchants to leverage a single pool of inventory, so their FBA inventory, to improve operational efficiencies across Amazon and the DTC channels, reducing stockouts and overstock. So when you add Buy with Prime to your site, you're passing off a lot of the workload from your online store over to Amazon. We handle the payments, the processing, the storage, the shipping, the packaging. So you have more time to focus on your own brands and customer experience, while we take care of, transport and fulfillment issues, where we have enough knowledge to tackle. And a customer can track, of course, the order, their delivery date in real time, so they receive all the information to to review their order for the tracking purpose. And I think a recent feature that we have released is called Buy with Prime Assist. So this provides a high quality real-time support through a chat feature that connects to a live customer service representative. So they are trained to answer any queries from shoppers. And of course, if there is a question specifically on the brand, so we are passing the question to the brand owner. But we take care of the customer experience overall.
It sounds like you guys do a lot of heavy lifting with logistics, which is huge on top of everything else some of these entrepreneurs have to manage. We do have another question from the audience. Beyond offering Prime benefits, can Buy with Prime be used to target specific customer segments on my e-commerce site, or is it universally applied to all products?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, so you don't need to enable Buy with Prime on your whole catalog. So we help you actually to identify the best SKUs and if you have a specific marketing strategy in mind. So you can create what we call collection page. So we talked about it before. So collection page is a page that collects all the Buy with Prime enabled products, and you can start marketing, so driving traffic to this specific collection page. If you have a specific category of products that you want to push, for example. So absolutely, your also the pricing is a pay as you go. Pick up the products that make sense for you and enable the Prime experience on your website.
Beautiful. And my last question on Amazon Buy with Prime. Are there any promotional features or anything we can use to leverage some of that Amazon data for advertising?
So for advertising, it's a good question. So we recently launched a cool initiative called Amazon Display Ads for Buy with Prime. So merchants are able to schedule display ads campaign to drive traffic to their own website using the unique Amazon shopping signals. So Buy with Prime merchants can use an expansive display ads placement network to remarket to shoppers interested in their products or similar products and categories as they visit sites beyond Amazon.com. So it's a definitely new feature. It's available just for Buy with Prime merchants. And yeah, it's definitely helpful to get more Amazon unique signals if you are targeting, your competitor or your interested category. So we've seen a lot of results so far with a lot of our merchants live since 2022. I like to call out Bare Minerals, the beauty brands. They have seen a 60% increase in shopper conversion with Buy with Prime and a 40% increase in sales per visitor. So it's huge. And I have a lot of case studies actually to share with the audience here if they are interested in. Another cool merchant that I love the brand is called Zoa Energy. Maybe you know the rock behind the brand.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah, so they enable Buy with Prime, they enable the cart feature, and they have seen an increase in the average order value for Buy with Prime orders of 29%. And as I said, we're talking about Prime members, so highly engaged shopper. They have a higher propensity to purchase. So it's definitely great to have their data and being able to remove the frictions during the checkout and improve the cart abandonment rate.
Absolutely. And I did get another question in. Are there any limitations or specific requirements for running promotions on products linked to Buy with Prime? Can I offer coupons or bundle deals with Buy with Prime purchases?
Yes, absolutely. Probably for this question, I will ask Alejandro. Ale, you want to jump in on this? I think you're more...
Sure, I can. Yeah, I can definitely give you a hand with that. Yeah, you can definitely run promotions with Buy with Prime, and the specifics, it will depend on the software that you use for your website, but you can definitely set it up. And regarding, I think you mentioned the question asked also about bundles. We are currently launching a virtual bundle feature. So you could structure virtual bundles to support your Value Prime strategy on your website, or you can definitely, of course, support actual physical bundles to sell them through Value Prime.
Beautiful. Thanks, Alejandra. And we love the virtual bundles for Amazon sellers. So that's super exciting. You guys have it available on the website. That's an awesome innovation. Cool. Very cool. Well, this was super helpful. Thank you, Alejandra. I have one more question for everyone. Looking forward, what emerging trends in CRO should e-commerce businesses be aware of? So I'd love to get everybody's take on the future of conversion rate optimization with all the innovations and technological changes. John, David, Martina, any guys want to kick it off? Feel free to take a minute if you got to gather your thoughts.
So I could put in one tidbit. I think that love it or hate it, AI is going to play a big part in the future. One trend that I think is going to be coming up, which I think AI is really going to be able to help with, is bulk personalization. So personalizing your messaging towards individuals, personalizing products, is a great way to help conversion, and being able to offer targeted upsells and cross sells, offer targeted messaging in chat apps and targeted messaging in emails. And that level of personalization is going to be very important. And also, down the road, optimizing your site content for AI searches and voice search with Google is also going to be very important. So kind of leaning into those AI tools as best you can to help improve your overall strategy.
Beautiful. Love the AI tools and voice too. I think voice is definitely underserved. How about you, John?
Yeah, you kind of took the one I was gonna go with, but just to add a little bit more onto it, I think we're gonna see across the web that, product detail pages, collection pages, the structure of these change potentially fairly drastically over the next few years as people get used to generated, summarized results and very just like quick answers to things. And so I think we want to start experimenting with that now, as Google starts to roll out their generative search experience. And maybe it's a little wonky right now, but they'll get it right eventually. Google always does, right? And so, you get that snippet, right, of information to your query versus having to filter through results. And if users respond to that, how can we replicate those types of experiences on our e-commerce sites to solve similar problems? So, yeah, I totally agree that leaning into AI, love it or hate it, that is what we have to do here, and incorporating the thoughts about what could these next steps look like and building your testing plans around that is going to be important.
And a theme from our CRO conversation: testing, testing, testing. So here it is, just a way of life. And Martina, anything on CRO or any future improvements to Buy with Prime you can share with our audience today?
Yes, I think also Meta and TikTok will play a key role. So it's important to care about your social experience, social outreach. We do have our social ads badge. So if you want to use for Buy with Prime, you can show the Prime badge into your Instagram and Facebook ads. But also for TikTok, we just released a connector with the multi-channel fulfillment program, which is maybe part of the next webinar wheel. So yes, social, are also key. So take care about your social outreach over there.
I like that. Well said. I know recently Amazon too, the TikTok partnership. So I'm sure there's going to be lots more features coming our way. And TikTok is pretty hot. So awesome, guys. Thanks for the take. So thank you to all our panelists and attendees for joining us today. We hope you found this session informative and empowering as you look to enhance your e-commerce conversion rates using the strategies and tools discussed. Remember, every small optimization can lead to significant gains in your online or your e-commerce business's performance. Please keep an eye out on your inbox as well. We'll be sending out a follow-up email with key takeaways, additional resources, and links to our recording of today's webinar. We'll also have the contact information for all the panelists. If you have any particular questions about anything that went over, you can message our panelists directly. And we appreciate your engagement and are excited to see how you apply some of these conversion rate optimization techniques to achieve remarkable success in your e-commerce endeavors. Until our next webinar, keep optimizing and innovating. Thanks again to all our panelists and guests for showing up.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
having us, Will.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.